Alrighty, good morning, everybody. I'm just going to get right into it. Let me know if you hear me. Welcome to the Hurley Investments Trade Findings and Adjustments of July 18th. Here I have up, as usual, a bit of what we talked about last time. Perfect. Being heard nice and clear. All right. Talked about the CPI coming in a little lower than expected, which was a positive. Their futures turned positive, and then things kind of fell away, mainly the tech, and talked about a few things of getting protection on. Got protection on Google at 185, Nvidia at 132, Apple at 125, Micron I was looking to get protection on. And Micron does have protection on it. We'll follow up with those. But glad we have protection on a lot of our tech stocks. What is happening? So let's just take a look at the NASDAQ. Darn it, I forgot the P. And this little blip a week ago was maybe a precursor to what's happening now. Probably going to come back and test the 50-day on our NASDAQ index. The last time it tested the 50-day, it broke through it, came all the way down to oversold, touched oversold on the RSI before coming up. So it may be that might be what might happen, but this had more to do with in April, lack of a rate cut from the Fed before people realized earnings were good, outlooks were good, tech was just on fire, especially our chip stocks. Situation now is, well, it looks like the inflation's coming down, which means we could get an rate cut sooner or later. Well, that's not what the NASDAQ is telling us. It's at least showing us that either something else is happening or it's not enough to be positive for pushing the NASDAQ higher. Our tech stocks have just run so darn much. At some point, there was going to be some profit taking, some turnover, by turnover, I mean rotation into other stocks by the big funds. So to get back to my comparison here, two different situations. I think it's likely we'll come down to the 50-day to a point where these stocks start to look more attractive again to buy a dip. Before things start heading back up. But for now, we've got some pretty awesome protection on some of these stocks. A lot of stuff was up this morning before kind of falling away once again. Just means that there's not that buying support. Let's start with Apple though. But before that, what are we looking at? Tech falling as big money rotates out into other things. So let's see if that actually makes sense. We got Apple getting rotated out of, certainly not as bad as some of the other chip stocks. Let's look at Boeing, just kind of going sideways. Bank of America paring back a bit of first time it's been overbought in months. Let's look at JP Morgan, similar sort of thing. Disney, sort of sideways. Ford keeps going up. Look at Google doing what the tech stocks are doing. Meta, same thing. Micron. Remember how I talked about that 50-day, watching it closely to see if it holds? Well, didn't hold. We got protection on. Protection looking great today. But I think that gives you the gist of some of our stocks, and seeing that a little bit of rotation out of those things into others. Let's see where it's definitely not going to Disney or Boeing. Rotation looks like it might be going here. Marathon's up. Banks were up, right? Meta is actually up today, which is funny. One that we forgot, the big boy, actually just coming down to this 50-day. So NVIDIA is one of ours that we might want to look at protection coming off or rolling down as we get close to earnings, because we are in earnings season. It's not necessarily the time we're trying to run without protection, right? Obviously. So, but I do want to profit from this fall down, and we can do that if we roll puts down to at the money. But we'll kind of monitor this, see how it holds up today, if it tests it again, if it falls through. Maybe look more at tomorrow, last day of the week, just to kind of get a feel for how things move. Say out and in to other things. So I wanted to show you guys if it will let me. Made some screenshots of some of our positions. Apple, Not sure what kind of order these are in, so bear with me if this isn't even Apple. There's Apple shares. Let's look at puts. There they are. So these 400 shares down 2,000. These 4 puts up 1,000 and are profitable. Unfortunately, we only got 225s on there, which you look at a chart and that's still pretty close to up here at the high, just not the top. Because when all the other tech was going down for the last few days, Apple was still holding up nicely, so there was a little bit more waiting on our part. But making up half of the movement today. Let's check out the next one. So NVIDIA, those are the puts. See if I can create some space here. Shares are actually bouncing today, but overall, you can see this is our daily return, daily gain and loss. This is the overall. So these 500 shares down 3,300. These 5 puts are up 3,700. So not only have we protected all the gains, we have a little profit, or at least, excuse me, protected our cost basis. We've got a little profit to go with it. So when NVIDIA does decide it really is going to bounce on that 50-day or wherever it's going to hold up, our puts are looking excellent. So that is that. I wish I had a better way to add this on. Have I mentioned that I hate Microsoft Word? I can hate Microsoft Word. I don't know if you guys can hear the piano, but if you can, I apologize. Some people's kids just don't know how to shut their fingers up while I'm trying to do a webinar. All right, There's Micron puts, which means these are going to be the shares. There we go. A lot of profit in our Micron shares. So we got this first one, 400 shares down 1,500. 4 puts down 1,200. Excuse me, up 1,200. So making up, what, 3/4 of it or more? Yeah, more than that. 80% of it. Continuing on, we've got this guy. That's our Google puts. Let's get our shares. There's our shares. Google shares down 500 shares down 1,700. 185 puts are up. Let's see, that was 500 shares. Our next, so 5 puts will put us up 800. So not quite half there, but let's just look at Google. 185 was a pretty good spot. Those should be up more. I don't know why they're not, but they are profitable. Let's look at up 2,000, let's see, 2,000, almost 800. They've done pretty good holding on to some of these profits, making up this day, and I would expect Google puts to kind of catch up towards the end of the day, if not more tomorrow. Sometimes they take more time than you like to catch up to this underlying shares. And that's just how it is. There's algorithms being calculated on spot prices of shares a million miles a minute. And so there is some lag associated with where the puts are priced sometimes. And usually at the end of the day, they'll catch up if the stock is down a lot or if it's a lot of volatility. They'll have to catch up at the end of the day and you'll see them more profitable. And that's what I would expect for Google. But just looking over some of these, this is pretty cool. Don't always show this. I should show these kinds of things more often. But for whatever reason, I'm showing you now. Guys, is there any thoughts or questions on any of this that you'd like me to go over? If you're looking for a trade, you might look at a put option on one of these. I'd look, since we've got Google up, right now it's not holding that 50-day. Still kind of seeing whether it wants to or not. Look at the end of the day and decide what you're going to do tomorrow. You got Micron, broke through the 50-day pretty pretty volatile, and you really don't have any support until you get kind of around this 105, 110 maybe area. So that's something you could look at today. Go out a few months, as you know, gives you time where if it pops on a day, you can have the time to see where it goes. But we are getting pretty close to this oversold, which is where I think we would have some support, and it's probably going to be around that 110, 105 spot. Based on price movement in our recent history. Do you have protection on Baidu? That was around this area, so not quite as impressive as the other ones. Some big institutions were getting into Baidu and pushing it up and then stopped buying, and now it's falling back down, but we are a bit higher than we were just a couple weeks ago. Stupid stock. All right, guys, I'm kind of starting to ramble. Hopefully that gives you a couple ideas. I wouldn't do anything with Boeing. Wouldn't do anything with Under Armour or Disney. They're all just going sideways. Oops. Meant to do Verizon. And Verizon's looking good. Verizon's one of those that you just kind of hold for the dividend, maybe roll out a couple covered calls every once in a while on your shares. But that about does it for me. I didn't see any questions, but hopefully that gave you some things, a little bit of idea of how things work with regard to protection. Lee said, need to get you and Kevin on together to converse on things. Oh, I like that idea. You know, our main interaction is simply looking over some of these charts, some of the news, some of the things that are happening, and just arguing with each other. Not that we really disagree a lot, but to kind of play devil's advocate, so to speak, with one another, just to keep each other honest. I'm not sure if that would be entertaining for you guys, but that's what keeps us honest and making pretty good choices. But thanks for that suggestion, Lee. That might be fun to do one of these times for sure. Look at both sides, could be good, bring up good ideas. I like it, Lee. I'm sure Kevin would be up for it. I think we'll make it happen. It's a good idea. Guys, any other thoughts or questions? More stuff's going to have protection here. Getting into earnings closer for some things, some stocks, and just kind of trying to let things run that are running, kind of like Ford. Only have a couple people in Ford now since we sold out a bunch earlier. I think it was this year. Maybe it was last year. It feels like forever ago. But it's getting close to 15 again. Where we sold out, but looking to get protection on Ford right there. Well overbought. I'm going to probably do that as soon as I hang up with you guys and get that one protected for earnings. But that's kind of the thing we're looking at. Let things run. Get protection on for earnings. All right, guys. Not seeing any other questions. Thanks for joining me this morning. We'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.